Hi, my name is Brian Fox. I recently sat down with all 9 town council and school committee candidates to learn more about them. Questions were developed by myself and members of the Wakefield, Massachusetts Community Page Facebook group and were not reviewed by WCAT, and no candidate was provided a final list of questions ahead of time. For preparation, I reviewed all 9 candidates' voting and town census records back to 2016, looked at posts on local Facebook groups, campaign pages, conducted online searches, and read the Wakefield Daily Item. These interviews were not done at the request of WCAT, and the views expressed are my own as an individual. Lastly, thank you to WCAT for helping with this huge undertaking, and thank you to all the candidates who are running for a volunteer position in our town. Hi, I'm joined tonight by Dawn Millward, one of the candidates for the 2-year school committee term. Hi, Dawn. How are you doing tonight?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm great, thank you. So, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi, everyone. My name is Dawn Millward. I've been living in Wakefield since the age of 7. Um, I love Wakefield. I've gone through the school system. I've had some amazing teachers that have paved a beautiful path for myself, Mrs. Sorensen and Mrs. Marshall. And then went through to high school, met the Garrier sisters, who made me love softball even more than I already did, and headed off to Keene State. Um, and I am back here in Wakefield, living, raising 2 beautiful boys. And I've been here teaching now for 17 years, special education in Methuen, and just decided it was time to do something to give back to this community that's given me so much.
Thank you. So, what Wakefield organizations are you involved in?
So you'll normally find me coaching something. I do work full time, so I have not been able to participate as much as I would like in certain organizations, but I have dedicated a lot of time on the soccer field, the basketball courts, and my favorite is the baseball diamond. So if you haven't seen me on the sideline coaching kids, you've probably seen me on the sidelines cheering on my own kids and probably yours. I'm a bit of a cheerer, as I've been told.
That's probably a very good thing.
Yeah.
So, this year, there's an opportunity to run for a 3-year seat, a 2-year seat, or a 1-year seat. So,
Yes.
why did you choose the 2-year term?
So I thought the 2-year term would be a perfect little mix for me. This would be something brand new for me. I've never run for a position before. Um, I thought the 1-year seat, with everything going on with COVID, just wouldn't give me the time and the experience that I think I would like to dedicate and on the committee. And the 3-year seat, not, I don't want to say was intimidating, but I thought the 2-year seat was that perfect mix of giving me time to get acclimated, learning the ropes, and also being able to put my intuition as a teacher, as a parent, Wakefield citizen into action in, probably year 2.
So, what do you think was your motivation to run for the school committee now?
So the school committee has always been very interesting to me. For the past several years, I've had a friend on the school committee. I've helped campaign, I've learned about the school committee, um, asked a lot of questions. For me, the school committee was never when I was going to run, or if I was going to run. It was more of a matter of when I was going to run. I got extremely interested in the school committee for this term for a couple of reasons. There's 4 seats available, which is not always the case. Sometimes there's only 1 or 2, and there's a lot more people running for each seat. I also was interested in the Warrior logo and all of that situation that was going on. And I thought, considering given COVID and the learning situation happening for students, I have firsthand knowledge of what's happening and a good path and plan to go move forward. So I thought, with my experience being a classroom teacher especially in special education with a focus in reading. It was a great time to make this step forward to support our students in Wakefield school system.
So how did you get involved in special education? That's such a, unique and rewarding field to be involved in.
Yes. Well, I think it goes back when I was a young child. My friends still joke around that I'm a teacher because I was probably the last person that wanted to be in school growing up. I started at the Doyle School when I first moved here, and school was not easy for me. I did not enjoy school, and I was removed from the Doyle School into a different to go to a different school that had more support, and I ended up at the Dolbear School. And at the Dolbear School, I was placed in a classroom that was not appropriate for my learning style or what I needed. And I eventually moved to the Atwell, where I stayed until middle school and then high school. I've always had to work hard at everything. School has never really come easy for me. And I think that had stayed with me through college. And I went into college not really knowing what I wanted to do. And as soon as I took my first couple courses in education, it just felt right. I felt like I could give back to children the same way I had said Mrs. Sorensen and Mrs. Marshall, who I'm still friends with today, gave to me. They made a really big impact on my life at the time. And I hope, no, I can't say I hope. I know I have made a lot of difference in several children's lives. So I think just knowing I can give back was a good job for me. I'm also very busy and I like to move, and I would never be a good person to sit behind a desk all day.
Very understandable. So what skills do you think you can bring to the school committee?
So I actually think I can bring a lot of skills to the school committee. The first thing I think I'd be great at is I am very dedicated to this town. I think my husband, he's from England, always knew deep in his heart when he married me, we were going to end up living in Wakefield probably the rest of our lives. So I am dedicated to this town, this community, the students. I have, like I said, my own two boys go to the Galvin. I'm invested in education. I've spent the last 17 years in special education, continuing my education in that field. So I also have drive and passion. I want to work hard to ensure that we're providing the best education, top notch, to our students. And in this community, we should be able to do that. And I think the last thing that I've been able to demonstrate very recently is I am very open-minded. I can listen, I learn, and I'm able to make decisions based on information that I've taken. I do not have a political agenda. I'm here because I want to make a difference. And I do think being a parent, being a teacher, I can bring a lot of perspective that isn't on the board right now.
No, that's great.
Thank you.
So an important
Am I
aspect.
sweating yet? I'm feeling like I'm sweating. This is like my first
No,
interview
you're
in
fine.
17 years.
You're doing fine. They're going to get harder though, so be careful.
Okay.
An important aspect for holding a local office is participating in local elections and town meeting where the town budgets are voted on by the citizens of town. So how has your local record been, and how is your town meeting attendance so far?
So it's probably not the most stellar. I have recently, over the years, after having Jack and Ryan, have become more invested in politics and in budgeting and where the schools and this community has, been going. I have voted, I think in the last couple, I know the school committee elections, but I think with anything, it's changed. My interests have changed since having Jack and Ryan and having more investment in this community for my personal children.
So earlier you alluded that the Warrior logo is one reason that made you consider running for the school committee.
There's a little
Um,
fire, yeah.
what are your thoughts on the debate that's gone on? It is still going on, as you know.
Yes.
Um, and should the school committee have waited until after the non-binding election, which is the same day as the school committee and town council election?
That is a great question, Brian. So I've been, like I said, one of the reasons that lit this little fire to get me on campaigning for the school committee was the logo. And at first, I thought, oh my God, why are we changing this logo? It's been here forever. It's, to me, I've always viewed the logo as being pride and honor and respect. And I never, ever once thought of it anything other than that, derogatory or racist at all. And I had a very hard time after even listening to everyone and the panel to really understand the viewpoints of the Native Americans. Because for me, for it has been 40 years of thinking what a great honor it is to run out onto a field to as a Wakefield warrior. But at the end of the day, before my father had passed, and I just, have told people this, my father always told me to fight the good fight, but stay true to my heart. And I was fighting for me what I thought was the good fight. And I'm not saying whoever else is still fighting for the Warrior logo, they may be doing it for a different reason, and I respect them. But for me in my heart, I just didn't feel like it was my place to say that this is okay anymore. I heard enough. I read enough. I read about the NCAAs and the Florida Seminoles that they had to go get a special letter to keep theirs from the Seminole tribe. I think with anything, there's going to be a side that is for and a side that is against. And I think that's something we have to learn how to live with, but also do it respectfully. And I think that was my biggest takeaway from the debate. The logo that is still going on is the way it's been aired and talked about from both sides has been very eye-opening and hurtful. And I think do I think the vote should have waited? I guess to hear the people's opinion, sure. But it's the school committee's decision. And I think they heard enough to make an informed decision that they were comfortable with. So I guess we'll see what happens on the 27th.
We certainly will. It's probably,
Yes.
I cannot think of a bigger vote coming up in town since probably the Galvin decision to build the Galvin. I mean, I can't think of anything
Yeah.
that's had as much play as this has. So
Yep.
I wish there were other things to bring people out to vote, but
I wish. Free chicken sandwich at McDonald's maybe, or something
if that
fun.
day's happening, I mean, that'll certainly drive a lot of traffic as well. I know I'll be down
I
for that one.
I just ate a chicken sandwich and a fry right before this, which I normally don't eat. So I'm thought it would help my nerves.
Is it working?
No, not yet.
What do you think the main objective of the school committee is?
The main objective, making sure that every single kid has the best education and is provided with equity, diversity, and no child is left behind for any reason whatsoever. I think the school committee's focus should and always be the student first.
So are you in favor of a new high school or renovations, or where do you see it going?
Well, I'm a little disappointed where we are right now in the process of the new high school, because I do, like I said, I have a 13-year-old who is in 7th grade and a 5th grader that I was really, really hoping that they weren't going to be using the same Bunsen burners
Yep.
that I did. And unfortunately, it does not look like they're going to have the opportunity to utilize a new high school. I am all for a new high school. Um, I wish we were further along in the process. However, if this new high school does not get passed, then I am 100% for a severe renovation, because our town can do a lot better than what we have right now for a high school. I think we're one of the last schools around this area. Maybe besides Stoneham, I don't think
They're
they've
a
done
little
their high.
further along the process than we are.
Yeah.
So they
So
will probably have one before Wakefield will.
yeah, so yes, I am 100% for a new high school, or some severe renovations, because that is not a top-notch high school right now.
So we've now crossed the 1 year mark for the pandemic, and there are plans being
Mm.
made for students to go back to school.
Yes.
So since you're a teacher and a parent, how can you reassure families that they'll be safe going back to a full classroom at this time?
So obviously that's a concern for everybody. It's a concern for teachers, it's a concern for kids coming back, and for parents going back. Um, I think we have great systems in place right now, to help prevent spreading of coronavirus. Um, I know Doug and his team have gone above and beyond with the cleaning and the spraying and all of the meetings that I've attended. That is going to continue. Um, I think it's time for our kids to go back. We have lost a lot of learning. It's evident in the elementary kids, their reading. It We are going to have to work very hard to close this academic gap that coronavirus has caused. Um, I think continuing to wear the masks all the time, constant hand washing, separating as best as we can. I know it's probably easier at the Galvin and probably the high school, because the Galvin being the newest, the classrooms are larger. I think the elementary schools are going to have to be creative on how they're spacing out all the kids. The last I heard, they might utilize some outdoor areas. But I don't think, if it wasn't safe, we wouldn't be going back. And I would have loved to gone back a long time ago. I'll say that.
You're probably not
And
the only
I
one out
have
there.
worked through all of this. So
And you've
I've
been
done
doing
the
it, yeah.
hybrid, I've done the remote, I've been in Methuen since September.
And you're working with children who, working in a
I work
at-home
very
setting might be
closely.
very difficult.
Yes, 100%. I have seen, witnessed severe regression. Even with kids that are getting daily service, it's just not the hands-on, one-on-one, small group services that they are accustomed to, what they're used to, and how we typically teach kids. Having kids tapping out and sounding out and reading through a computer screen is a lot different than sitting right next to them, instructing them. And it's shown.
It's probably the most unfortunate aspect of the pandemic is that the kids are getting left behind at this time.
Oh yeah. Yep.
If you are elected, what do you think a key success will be at the end of your term? I know you have a shorter term,
Hmm.
so you got to
So
cram a lot in, I guess.
I am. So this has been something I have been talking to my friends that are on the school committee currently and in the past. I am passionate about special education. I have given my whole adult life to special education. And as a district, I would love to see us implement more specialized classrooms, such as a language based. I know we have one, but we're not the smallest district in the world. More sophisticated language based learning programs, and a dyslexia reading specialist. I feel as though Wakefield should be a state of an art education where other communities are like, wow, look at what Wakefield is doing. In my in my opinion, there are kids that at some point may need to have an outplacement because we just cannot service them to the best of their ability, or we can't meet their educational needs. However, first and second graders that are diagnosed with dyslexia, if we built a state-of-the-art classroom and we spent money to employ teachers that specialized in that area, we would eventually not have to outplace children to special schools that cost the budget that this school system so much money. Hundreds of thousands of dollars are spent on outplacement. Some are definitely needed. So I don't want anyone to get the thought that I'm not against sending kids to placements that are needed. But I don't think at the end of the day, you know, every parent wants to send their child to another school away from their peers, away from their community. But if we cannot educate them properly to the best of their ability, then that's what you have to do. And I think we could really bring some better programming to our own district so we can keep more students in-house and really develop in the special education department. So that is a goal of mine. I've been talking about it with people for years now, even though I haven't been on the community, the school committee board, but I've always driven about, why can't we do this? Why can't we do this? Why do we spend money sending so many kids for outplacements when if we just spent the initial money, and it would be expensive, but cost over time of sending students out, it would all come back.
This year's school budget is set to increase by 4.88%. It might rise, as you know, with children who have left behind, there may be a need for more services than anticipated. But it's set right now, it's 4.88%.
Yep.
In the past, the school committee has been criticized for spending beyond agreed upon amounts. There was some catch-up years, as you know, a couple years ago.
Yep.
How can you work to improve the district while also keeping those taxpayers in mind?
So I think that the school committee, the budget, and it's very important that when you're talking about budget, it's about keeping it in balance. And a lot of money right off the top of that 4% goes to paying teachers and their salaries. A lot of times it is a balancing act, but it's important that we are giving the students what they need, but we're also being responsible. And sometimes we have to ask ourselves if it's a want over a need. So, you know, especially right now with COVID, we might need to spend a little more money getting programs in place. I know I was very excited. I think there's 4 new special education teachers coming back into that budget, which is amazing. But with any budget, you have to think if the school is taking almost half of Wakefield's budget, are we leaving the police short? Are we leaving the fire department short? It has to be balanced. It has to be equitable so we can meet our needs, but not take away from other important areas of our community as well.
Which makes total sense. The balanced approach is probably the best way to do it. There's a lot of other pieces of the pie that are looking for more money all the time. So I know it's a very difficult balancing act there.
Responsible balance.
So as you know, Wakefield's had a housing boom in the past few years. We have a lot of new apartments, condos, divisions being built.
Yes.
There was an expansion for the Walton not that long ago, and yet there were still some Walton kids who were being sent to, I think, the Woodville for kindergarten. So they just didn't have the room. So what can we do, and what should we do with all these possible extra kids that might be coming into the district based on current facilities?
So I think this is a situation where we have to outweigh the benefits and the pros and the cons. I think the more infrastructure we build, we might be bringing in more taxes. The downtown community might be making more money, but at what cost? Like you said, the elementary schools are already bursting at the seams. So in order to come up with a plan, I think it's really important that we come up with what's called a long-term master plan, which we did several years ago for the Galvin and the high school. But we keep kind of putting it off and off for the elementary schools. And at what point do we say it is enough enough? Like eventually we are going to need another elementary school. We can't just keep on building a room, or taking away the gym and turning it into a classroom and then turning it back into the cafeteria. At some point we need to say it's time for a new school. I think the problem with that is, where are we building at and where's the land? So I think we need to be prepared on how to come up with a plan at the elementary schools. The middle school was already built with growth mind in place, and hopefully the high school, when it is built or refurbished or renovated, that will also be built with growth mind in place. So our focus right now has to be on the elementary levels and what we're going to do with that. So that is definitely on my agenda to consider and talk about. And not only what are we doing with all the rooms and where we're going to place these kids. With more kids, we may make more money with taxes, but you never know, we're going to have to spend more money too on the number of kids coming in, depending on services if they need, stuff like that. So again, balance.
It's gonna be a very tough, tough thing to do going forward.
Yes.
Well, Dawn, we're just about out of time. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. It was great to talk to you.
Yes.
Good luck to you in the April 27th election.
Thank you very much. Thank you for hosting this. Good luck on the next 4th of July. Are we going to have one?
2022, we're going to have the biggest 4th of July parade of all time.
All right. So. I feel like you asked me some hot questions, so I'm like, where's this parade? Let's get this going.
I'm taking this year off. Well, it's always next year.
All right. Well, I'll help fundraise.
Thank you. Have a nice
Thank
night.
you for doing this. It was nice to meet you.
You too. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.